In American tax law, there are two forms that you can give someone doing work for you. One of them is called a W-2. The other is called a 1099. Okay? Raise your hand if you ever got a 1099. Raise your hand if you ever got a W-2. Okay, me too. Alrighty, I got both. So, I got all kinds of receipts. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are required by law, your employer is required by law to send you those documents, W-2s or 1099s, by the end of January. By January 31st, your employer is required to get you those documents. Okay? Now, let's say you made $50,000 this year, and you get a W-2 for $50,000. Or you made $50,000 this year, and you get a 1099. Which one would you rather have on January 31st? A W-2 or a 1099? Huh?
It depends on deductions and a lot of other
It depends on deductions and a lot of other things. That's true. We're in a room full of Jews over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. I agree with you. Overall, though, and it depends what you want a W-2. Yeah. Because a W-2 means all your taxes were already taken by your employer. And that's really good news. Because if you made $50,000, once you start adding your standard deductions, you're probably going to standard, you're probably getting a refund. Correct. Right? Your employer paid taxes, took your money out of your salary throughout the year, made sure that your money was being deducted, made sure to send that money to the federal government, to the state government, and now you file your tax returns. All the taxes have already been taken once you start adding in all your deductions, and boom, you get a big refund check. So you can't wait. Those people usually end up filing their taxes on like February 5th and 6th because they're waiting for a payout from the government. Then there's the 1099 people. 1099 is what you get when you are a contractor, which means that your employer did not take out any taxes, which means that you now owe all the taxes, including double on you pay your self-employment taxes. So on certain wages that normally would be split between your employer and the employee, you got to pay both. You made $50,000. How much taxes did you pay? You didn't pay anything. You may have paid quarterlies if you had this in previous years, but you right now are facing a big tax bill, and maybe you don't have the money. Because maybe you, like the guy with the W-2, you spent the money that came in. And now you're like, uh-oh. The good news is there's a grace period. There's a grace period from February 1 until April 15 when you got to file your taxes. And during that time, you better find a way to come up with some cash. Right? Okay. So that is how the U.S. tax system works. Let's talk about the Jewish system. We are all employees of this incredible organization, company called World Incorporated. God says, I'm hiring all of you. You are all hired. You know how you know you're hired? You're here. And you're alive. Okay? If you're alive and you're here, you've been hired. You know what happens when people get fired? They get shelved, right? That's a you've been fired. Okay? Alrighty. So if you're here, you've been hired. God says, I'm going to give you a salary. It's going to be, I'm going to give you food and clothing and a house. I'll give you a car. I mean, God is an incredibly generous employer. He gives you pretty much everything you have. Okay? So he gives you food, clothing, shelter, heat, air conditioning, cars, everything. And what does he ask in return? What's your job? Produce light. Bring spiritual light into the world. How do you produce light? By being kind, by being loving, by being honest, by being thoughtful, by being compassionate, by being disciplined, by being sanctified, by praying, by giving charity, by calling up people and checking on them. There's a million ways. You could bring light any way. And different people in different divisions bring light in different ways. You have a farmer. That farmer, if he does it with the right intentions, is bringing incredible light. He's helping to feed the world. He's part of the food service division. You know, if you go to the hospital, every part of the hospital, different people wear different color scrubs. You know, if you're part of environmental, you wear the purple scrubs. And if you're part of the food service, you wear the green scrubs. And if you're part of the nurses wear the blue. And the doctor, and so on and so forth, right? Different color scrubs. So we're all, in this world, we have different roles. We have different positions, right? As a rabbi, I'm probably in sales and marketing. I'm the timeshare salesman. Trying to convince you to buy a timeshare and forever vacations in the next world of bliss and joy. Anyway, so people have different roles in this world, but everyone has the same job: produce light in some form or other. And we've gotten paid our salary throughout the year. How do I know we got paid our salary the whole year so far? Because we're here. And part of that salary is life itself. Now, did we get 1099 this year, or did we get W-2 this year? Did you pay all your taxes? If you paid all your taxes, if you never spoke negatively about other people, if you never ignored the gifts that God gave you by always thanking Him, saying please and thank you before the gifts, you get a meal. We say please and thank you. It's called a bracha. Before we eat the meal, before we put a delicious nectarine into our mouth, we say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei priya eitz. That's how we say please. And when we finish that delicious nectarine, we say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei nefashos rabos chasonana kol ma shabas lachios b'em nefesh kol chai baruch Elohim. Please don't say it that fast. Say it slowly. When we say that, that's our way of saying thank you. So if we've said please and thank you to God for all the gifts in our lives, if we've thanked Him for everything from the shoes on our feet to the ability to breathe, for the incredible mix of oxygen and nitrogen He provides us with at all times, if we only showed our parents and our rabbis the highest levels of respect, if we elevated our Jewish practice significantly this year from the previous year, if we never said anything that wasn't 100% true, if you've done all that, then you're fine. You are a W-2 employee of this world. Don't worry about Elul. It's okay. You're going to be fine. However, ladies and gentlemen, if this year you were a W-2, you took the salary, but you didn't take the taxes off right. Maybe you made blessings that sounded like the one I just made over there. Right? Or maybe you didn't even make all the blessings. Maybe you said things that weren't entirely true. Or maybe you said things that were entirely true, but they were entirely hurtful to others. Maybe you didn't appreciate the gifts that God gave you and didn't act according to the recognition of someone who understands they're getting mad gifts from the one above. Maybe we didn't call our parents enough or show them enough respect. And if our parents are gone, maybe we didn't go visit. If they're buried over here, maybe we didn't do charity in their honor and their memory. Things that we could have done, even if they're gone, to help them in the world to come. If that's the case, then consider Rosh Chodesh Elul, the beginning of Elul, as the day that you got your you got your 1099. It says, here's what you made this year. You made $80,000. Here's what you paid in taxes so far, $4. Start preparing the rest of the taxes, guys, because your due date is going to be Yom Kippur. And you've got 40 days now to get it together. It's a beautiful thing. When it says we should be fearful and anxious during these 40 days, it means you should be thinking about how am I going to get the funds together to make my full payment by Yom Kippur. If you didn't have this time, if you weren't concerned, then you just blow right by this period, and Yom Kippur would come, and you wouldn't be ready, and you wouldn't have yourself prepared. Baruch Hashem, that the shofar starts blowing in the beginning of Elul and telling you, hey, let's get it together.